Hi, my name is Chloe Casmer, and I did my presentation on vertical farming. A little introduction about vertical farming. Vertical farming involves growing crops on vertically stacked layers instead of using traditional horizontal fields. This system allows farmers to produce significantly more food using the same amount of space, or sometimes the amount of space could be even smaller. And vertical farming dates back 2,500 years ago to the Babylonian Hanging Gardens. Going into the applications of vertical farming, the first one is that vertical farming is used in urban areas where farmland is scarce. So, an example of this is Arrow Farms in New Jersey. They are one of the world's largest vertical farms and they provide leafy greens for supermarkets. The second application is supplying supermarkets with hyperlocal produce. The company Kroger partners with 80 Acres Farms, which is a vertical farming company, and they also sell greens in grocery stores. And the last application would be corporate sustainability. Barclays Bank, which is located in London, installed an in house hydroponic vertical farm to feed their employees in their employee cafe. And hydroponic just basically means that plants do not use soil, but they use water instead. Moving on to the advantages of vertical farming enables year round crop production. So, this just allows crops to be grown in the winter when maybe soil isn't fertile or stuff is frozen over. Vertical farming offers higher yields per acre because you're able to stack the crops on top of each other. There is protection from harsh weather because these vertical farms are usually indoors. And vertical farming brings fresh produce closer to urban areas where there might not be as much space to field. And the last advantage is that it uses less land. There are also some disadvantages to vertical farming, and the first one would obviously be the lack of sunlight, just because a lot of these vertical farms rely on artificial lighting, which brings us to our second disadvantage. The main problem with artificial lighting is that it's just very expensive for a lot of these companies. The third disadvantage is that there is limited knowledge on vertical farming just because it is a new um, field and researchers haven't looked very deeply into it yet. And the last one is humidity control, which also has to do with funds and it being just very expensive overall. With the amount of limited knowledge on vertical farming, Grand Challenge Synergy project on the controlled environment agriculture is a company that researches vertical farming and tries to get more information about it. And basically, their goal is to generate knowledge for vertical farming and greenhouse processes. There is a bright future for vertical farming just because it is such a new field. So, there is going to be an increase in popularity of vertical farming, and hopefully, there's going to be some technological advancements as well. And the third future implication is that it is actually able to slow down climate change. And the last future implication is enhanced global food security. With the increasing population, this is important to make sure that everyone has enough food and no one is left hungry. Going back to vertical farming, being able to slow down climate change, this is because it is using less water and producing fewer emissions. After doing research about this topic, I have learned a lot about vertical farming that I was not aware of before. Vertical farming falls under the early adopter stage because it's innovative, but it hasn't reached mainstream adoption yet. And before doing this assignment, I was not familiar with vertical farming, but I have learned a lot about it and I find it very interesting. And I will not be using this technology in a classroom or work environment just because I am not a farmer. So, these are my references. Just to go through the process of how I found all my information, how I created this presentation. First, I researched vertical farming and a little bit of history about it. And then I found a couple articles discussing the advantages and disadvantages of vertical farming. And I kept looking and I found another article that discussed the future implications. And then after reviewing all my information, I came to a conclusion about my topic and I created my references page. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you learned a lot about vertical farming.